Now, moving on, the average household in Britain spends more on transport than on food and more on recreation than on household bills, fuel and indeed power.
Well, the Office of National Statistics has unveiled the most statistically average house in Britain. It's in Kingston, in Surrey, and breakfast, far from average, Max Foster is there. Max.
Feeling very average this morning. This is the house. It's on average spending about £406 a week. Now, this survey doesn't include mortgages, but if you take everything else into account, the big thing we spend our money on is transport, and the ONS has labelled everything up at this house. And as you can see, transport costs us about £59.20 a week for the average family. That's not just the cost of motoring, that's also the cost of public transport. It's the one big cost, despite all the complaints we have about our transport system. Coming in second is what's called recreation and culture, and included in that is the cost of gardening, horticultural goods, as you can see here. That's about £3. And that's the big trend, really, in the survey in recent years. We're spending far more time and money on leisure and pleasure, and that includes all sorts of things, and it extends to what we do inside the house. If we come over here, we've got a TV. We're spending far more on TV and cable and satellite products, £4.80 there. There's the PlayStation down there. That will cost about £1.10 a week, and there's the cost of some sports as well. And the other really big trend is towards package holidays and the amount we spend there. And here's a label up there illustrating that, £12.70 a week. Now, with me is Anthony Craggs. He's a statistician from the ONS. Anthony, can you describe a bit more about this trend towards leisure and pleasure? It really has been a trend in recent years, hasn't it?
That's right. I mean, what we found with the historic data is that in real terms, we're now spending around 30% more on motoring than we were around 6 or 7 years ago. And similarly, we're actually spending around 40% more now on leisure than we were in the early to mid-90s.
It's surprising, isn't it, the amount we're spending on transport, the cost, and it breaks down, doesn't it, to cars and public transport?
That's right. Around £50 a week of the 59 average on transport is on the running and purchase of our vehicles, and the remaining £9 on public transport. And that £59 equates to around £3,000 a year on just getting out and about. OK,
so transport obviously has a very big impact on us. You might be able to see behind us we have food. The long-term trend with food is that we're gradually spending less on food over the years. In fact, we're spending less on the basics. We're also spending less on clothing, but that perhaps is a bit more about the cost of clothing and food rather than the amount we're buying of it.
Thank you very much indeed, Max.
Forward to it. Thanks, Carol.
Carol in York there. Now, the average household in Britain spends more on transport than food and more on recreation than household bills, fuel and power.
The Office of National Statistics has unveiled the most statistically average house in Britain. It's in Kingston, and breakfast's Max Foster is there. Morning, Max.
Yeah, good morning to you. This is the house. On average, the outgoings from here are £406 a week. It doesn't include mortgages, so what's the big outgoing if you exclude mortgages? Well, it's transport, and the ONS has put all sorts of little labels all over this house to illustrate the point. Here, transport, you can see, is costing £59.20 a week. £26.60 of that goes towards motoring, and the rest goes towards public transport. So despite all the complaints about the transport system, we are spending more on it than we ever have done before. The other big trend is towards recreation and culture. And as you can see, we're spending £56.40 on that a week. And that's a really big trend. We're spending far more on having a good time, so-called leisure and pleasure. And if we come inside, we can see that trend reflected in all sorts of different things around the house. If we come over to the corner of the living room, for example, we have a TV, and that illustrates the fact that we're spending about £4.80 a week on TV. We've got a PlayStation down there, that's costing a lot, and also some sporting goods there. The other big thing we're spending our money on in terms of leisure and pleasure is holidays, and there's an illustration here. We're spending £12.70 a week on holidays.